All right. Okay. I think we are officially live, and my microphone wants to act fickle. That's okay.
We are live. Okay.
We're gonna make it work.
It's been a minute since we've been in the studio.
It is, as if anyone watching or that will watch can tell. so, so, yeah. So excited to get the next episode in the books, and to hopefully allow somebody to position somebody rather to get blessed by it.
Amen.
So really excited about that,
Yep.
and I think to your point, hopefully we can get some feedback on how the episodes that we've done virtually or remote have been versus this, but from anybody who's open to giving us that feedback, but we welcome it, I guess, is the point. So we're gonna go ahead and jump on in. So this is Two Brothers Talking Podcast. I am Burrell. This is
Mark.
Yep, and we're thankful to be here with you. And we're doing our sixth episode on the podcast, but we're doing our third of a three-part series. And we're really thankful to have an opportunity to do that. The three-part series started with purpose and identity, designing a life that matters. This is a vision. It's called the Vision series. The intent was to arm men and women with the opportunity to have some tools and just some perspective maybe on how to maybe manifest the vision, and maybe even determine what their vision is to begin with. The second episode was growth and mastery, becoming who you're meant to be, and
You
they
said growth, and mastery.
growth and mastery.
Gotcha.
Yep. And I think if you like, I'll tell you, if you didn't get those episodes, go back and watch them, because I'm not going to tell you what happened, and that's the way we're going to roll. So you want to know, go watch it
Go watch it.
and subscribe. so 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 we'll jump into the third one, which is what we're going to talk about today, and that's about relationships and impact, developing a life of connection, or building a life of connection. And there's lots of ways to interpret that. If you think about it, these episodes compound, so they're intended to build on each other. So I think jumping in like this particular episode, and I'm gonna pivot to a question just to kick us off here in a second.
Okay.
But this particular episode is from a relationships and impact perspective, is really centered around like how do you take the vision that you've identified, or you are identifying, because it's organic. How do you then, on top of that vision, apply your self mastery so that you can have connection in life and not feel um isolated, not feel on an island. And particularly when things are difficult, we all feel that,
Yep.
right? So hopefully that hits home for somebody. To kind of jump us in, I guess maybe we should probably first start like we typically do, and that's just defining, getting on the same page about what some of these terms mean. Mark, how would you, like, when you think about building a life of connection? First off, like, why is that even important? Like, what does it mean, and why is it important?
So, what does it mean? I would say, I think relationships, life of connections is you're talking about relationships. And I think it's important because God intentionally created us for relationships. And He created us for relationships that have the ability to grow together.
Mm,
So He could have like filled the world with like billions of people and we're done. But He actually created a system where, hey, there's these relationships, and then the relationships produce something that has to grow, and then this, as a whole, this concept of family, you grow up together. And so like it's important because for whatever reason God chose to design us in a way where we have relationships, and we need relationships for this whole system to function. Like even when you're talking about like spreading the gospel, it's like he had he had a family, if you will,
hmm
that he like poured into their life and then sent them out, and they stay connected as they did what they were called to do. So it's like there's always this interconnecting of lives that are always there. Um, a perfect example is like right now, you and I have a relationship.
Mhm.
We're friends. We're doing this podcast. Our lives are intersecting in this moment
Mhm.
as it's intersecting with everybody who's watching this or who will watch it down the road. So like there's these relationships that are on different levels that are constantly kind of intertwined at different moments, and we're all impacting one another. So it's I think it's just the way God designed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I guess when you think about like that connection that happens in relationships, it's it feels like it's typically based on need. Like
Uh-huh.
if I were to like just double click into relationships, it's not just because you're in each other's presence. There are people in each other's presence that do not have a connection or relationship.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yes, it is.
So then there's a like there's something that creates a relationship. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just because we're in the same room doesn't mean I'm in the same room with somebody every day at a store or at an airport or somewhere. You know, like this doesn't mean we have a relationship.
Right.
There is some connection that that does do what you described, like weaving us around, weaving our lives together.
Yeah. Like so, somebody watches this podcast, and then it's just a casual thing at first, and then they develop a trust for what we do,
Hmm.
and they start to there's an investment there. So now it's a deeper connection. Like even though it's like, it's online,
Hmm.
but at the same time it's like you start to develop like a connection to these two guys that are talking about different things. So there's different levels to it, and there is an investment that takes place for it to really benefit each person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That yeah, that and it feels like in order to make that investment, each each person on one side of a relationship has a need that the other potentially fulfills or influences or impacts. There's something at each of our core, I guess is my point,
Yeah.
that draws us in and out of relationships,
Yeah.
right? Like there's some kind of fulfillment
Yeah.
that each of us have or want. I'll say that it's not always need either.
Uh-huh.
There's some of us just want that leads us to these relationships that creates this connection,
Yeah.
right? And I think that understanding what your need is important,
Yeah.
right? And understanding the need of the other person or people in relationships is really important too.
If you want a good relationship.
If you want a good
Yeah.
relationship,
If you just don't care, I'm getting what I need, and then if I don't get what I need, I'm out. Yeah, that doesn't work well. But the more you understand, the better it's going to go for both parties.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So then, okay. So then, would you agree that it sounds like what I just heard you say is that connection let's discuss the terms of healthy, productive, good relationships.
Okay.
So we should probably are just align that that's what we're talking about,
Right.
not just a connection, but a productive connection,
Right.
right? So if that's the case, then you have to have an interest in the other person's need of connection and in a relationship.
Yep. Yep. Because if you don't have an interest in the other person's needs, then it can become abusive. And I use that word loosely.
Hmm.
It can become a negative because it's like I'm just pulling from you, and at the point I can't pull from you anymore. I'm going to get rid of you,
Hmm.
as opposed to I'm looking to meet your needs and also mine, and you're looking to kind of meet my needs or at least have an understanding of them.
Hmm.
And so it's like it's more of a fulfilling relationship. I mean, and marriage is a great example of it.
Hmm.
Sometimes you can be in a marriage and you're like, man, what does my spouse need? But then sometimes you get in these seasons where it's like, I'm not getting my needs met and I'm unhappy. Like that's when all that stuff starts to play in, is like
Hmm.
when the relationship is just about you, you start to feel really unhappy because you're so self-focused. It's like, man, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that. And it just I don't know why, but it works better when I recognize my needs as I'm also ministering to the other person's needs. It
Right.
just works better.
Yeah. Yeah. And particularly when both are doing that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The other way around with what I just heard you say too is with the relationship, and this kind of leads into the next piece of this. Relationships can be really, really beneficial and productive. They can also be unintendedly very destructive.
Yes.
is
Yep.
what I just heard you say.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I guess how, like, why, how would you know? How would you know on the back end? I'm gonna jump a little bit and then come back.
Okay.
How would you know that you're in a relationship, regardless of what, like, marriage aside? Like, this could be a family member, it could be a friendship, it could be anything. How would you know that you're in a relationship that is destructive?
That's a good question. Um, I think you have to look at the impact that it has on you. It doesn't have to be. We're talking generally,
Yeah,
broad
generally.
scope.
Yep.
Um, if I'm very unhappy, and I use that loosely because it's not about happiness,
Right.
right? But you can just tell when you're in something. It's just like this is not good. Like I'm not. I have no fulfillment in this. This doesn't. It's not working well. Like we're not meeting one another's needs. I don't even consider what you need. The other person is not considering what I need. It's like, you kind of start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and it's like, hey, either this relationship is not working, and I'm not talking about marriage, but
Yeah.
more so generally speaking, hey, this is not working, and we need to make some adjustments, or at least have a sit down and have a conversation.
Mhm.
And that's what a healthy relationship has to do. Is like, there's no perfect relationships, but if it's a good relationship, we ought to be able to sit down and have a conversation because we care about one another.
Yep.
So you just have to look at the signs to kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was. I had no idea how you were going to answer that,
Okay.
but that's what I was kind of looking for.
Uh-huh.
And I think a lot of people are looking for sometimes too. Is one, I think our expectations are jacked when it comes to relationships. Like, we think relationships are supposed to be honeymoons forever. And
Yep.
that's just not how, when you meet that friend that y'all just really connect, or y'all reconnect on a level that's really positive, it don't mean it's always going to be roses and sunshine. Like,
Yeah.
that's just not the way the world works, so, and it's not the way humans work, because we're fickle.
Yep.
We're so fickle. So then, really, how you know it's good, so to speak, or productive, is that you're able to have a conversation about it when it's not.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
Yep.
Can we have a productive, mutually interested conversation when it's not good?
Productive being the key word.
Yeah,
Word, 'cause
keyword.
we can talk about it and it could be just this.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so as long as this, the interest is mutual, you're focused on solving the actual problem, not being right. Right? Because the problem is, you want your relationship to progress.
Right.
That's and you feel in the moment it's not, for whatever reason.
Yep.
Right? So then you address it, you deal with it.
Yep.
And there's never I don't believe there's ever a time where it's too late to do that.
Right.
Where it's too late to deal with it, as long as both of you have continued to be mutually interested. Right? So like, when you're not mutually interested, I think that's where the destructive part comes in.
Right.
Right. So just, I hope that helps somebody recognize that, well, one, accept that your expectations might not be realistic for relationships, but there's some really good things behind some of those trials that are worth going through in
Yep.
some instances, and you have to make those decisions and live with them.
Well, I think people don't really process, and I'm talking to myself as I say this, is that we don't understand that relationships are connection. And we connect on two levels. We connect in areas where we're similar,
Mm-hmm.
but we also connect in areas where we're different. So, like, physically speaking, well, let me not go there. In general, I usually connect with somebody because you have similar interests. But then also you realize, hey man, in this friendship, you have something I don't have. In this relationship, you have something that I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it can be a point of tension, or we can figure out how to mesh those two things together. So perfect example is us doing the clothing brand.
Right.
There are certain things that I'm good at, and there are certain things that you're good at. And either it can be this, or it can be like, hey man, I struggle in this area. Can you help me out? Like, what should we do here? That's how relationship. That's when they work well. But a lot of times, when the point where we're different, usually it's just hard for us to learn how to compromise, how to become one. Like this is where like relationships don't. This is when they fall apart. Is because we don't have an understanding of like this is where I'm lacking, and this person is very strong in this area. And if I listen to them, if I consider what they're saying, if I consider what they bring to the table, then this could go really well. If I use it as a point of like conflict,
like a
this
weapon.
can go really. This can go really bad.
Yeah, because you could weaponize that
Uh-huh.
real easy and unintentionally. Like it's almost a bit human, just naturally to do that.
Yep.
Right. So I think yeah, when someone's in a position to be self-aware, to be to display like humility,
Yeah.
is what I just heard. Like we're gonna talk. Hey, I know you do this thing better than me. Like let's and I do this thing better than you. Let's make these things complementary. That was a word that was resonating in my mind as you were talking. Complementary. Like we have to accept that we are complementary to one another
Right.
in some way. And I think the thing that stops us from like really accepting that is ego.
Yeah.
And trust. I don't want to say that you're better at anything than me.
Yep.
And I don't trust you when you tell me that we should do it this way, and here's why. I don't trust that you told me that because it's right or best for us. I think you told me that to make me feel bad,
Right.
or to make me feel like you're better than me in some space. And instead of me just saying like, yeah, you are. That's why we're in a relationship together. Like
Yep.
that's of course you are. And
Yep.
that's I'm good with that. Matter of fact, I'm not just good with it. I'm excited about it. I'm
Yep.
excited that you're better at that than me. Like I wouldn't I wouldn't understand somebody, being a point guard and being upset because the center is 7'2" and better at being a center than them. Like I wouldn't understand that. Of course you are. Thank you. Thank you for being better than at that.
But you do have moments where somebody is the point guard and they're going to try to do everything on the court,
Yep.
not accepting the fact that, hey man, there's a 6'6" dude down low who's strong, who
Right.
knows how to, work the post.
Right.
It'll be a lot easier if you give him a good pass.
Mhm.
It'll be easier for him to score. It'll be better for our team.
Right.
Or I can be the point guard and just dribble all over the place and turn over the ball, and I'm a ball hog.
Right.
You mentioned a second ago, it's like ego, man. That's not easy.
Mm-mm.
That's not easy.
Mm-mm. No, it's especially for men, because we want to be we for us, we a lot of times really want to be, and I think this is true for women too. I think this is true for all humans. We want to be the center character in our own show all the time.
Explain more.
So I think, I feel
Uh-huh.
often most of us are uncomfortable and get discouraged or upset or unhappy when we're faced with the reality that the world does not evolve around us.
Yep.
Those moments make us really uncomfortable, and they make relationships hard because now you're like, well, hang on a second. So I'm not the center of this relationship.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't evolve around me. Like, yeah, I know it's us, but it's more me. Like, no, that's not how it works. Like, that's not how productive relationships will last. It's got to be we. Like, it's we and us. Is it? It's no like, it's more about you.
Yeah. Have you ever had a moment where like you realize, hey, this is what I bring to the table, but actually, especially in a person who is, I consider you, you have a lot of talents, a lot of skill. Have you ever recognized a weakness that you had that someone else actually was stronger in that area? You actually needed them. Like, how did you, whether it's marriage or whatever, like, how did you process that as a man?
Sure.
As an intelligent, very skilled man, how do you process something like that?
So thank you for that compliment. Because men don't compliment each other enough. So thank you for saying that. Yeah. I didn't take that lightly. The way that, so I encounter that all the time.
Okay.
So and I'd say probably frequency wise, I encounter it more at work.
Okay.
Because I'm I'm managing teams and stuff, and so I think like there are people in my organization that have, all of them have skills I don't have.
Right.
That's especially if I had a hand in hiring them, I'm open about it, like transparently open about it. I say it in the hiring process and after and along the way. I hired you, or I'm looking for someone who has these skills because I and my team do not have them.
Right. Right.
Like this particular deliverable will be all about you because
Yep.
we don't have that skill. We're gonna help you with it. We're gonna support you on it, and we're gonna do it together. But like, we need you.
Right.
So that I think I think in a marriage that has a lot to do with success and not. I think relationships with kids, with your own kids, like it has a lot to do with it. You should encourage and point out when your kids are good at things that you aren't as a parent.
Yeah.
I think it tells them that you're trustworthy. It's not about you, it's about them. It's about y'all together. It tells them that you will give them praise even when it might impact your ego. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel some kind of way about it. That's not actually not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's behind that. You shouldn't, like, it's wrong for you to feel, but man, I wish I could do that better.
Right.
I can't tell you that's wrong. Like that's your feelings.
Yeah.
But what do you do with them? If you manage that and you still manage to share with somebody that you do this thing better than me, it's important that you do it well. So like there's some accountability to having skill.
Right.
Like the oh, I don't know if it's Superman or something like that. Like with great power comes great responsibility. Like it's like that. That sounds cliche. It's real.
It's real.
With great, all of us have great power. That's why all of us are greatly responsible.
Right.
But we're greatly powerful in specific things that God has blessed us to be able to do.
Yep.
And that we've learned and honed over time.
Yep.
So we have to be cool saying, "Hey, Mark, like you." Like one of the many things that we've had this exchange about is like the artistic side of things and the creative side of things versus the operational side of things.
Right. Right.
Where I'm not even about to try to get creative.
Uh-huh.
I am terrible at that. I've never been good at it. I have tried in the past because ego made me want to try. Terrible at it. And because I've tried, so here's the catch. Because I tried so hard and failed at it multiple times, I have a respect for it.
Yep. Yep.
Like I don't say do this because I can't. Like I have a like, dang, that's hard.
Yep.
I know that's difficult. I know it don't just creatively spawn in your mind. Like it takes effort and time and thought and maybe even some prayer if it's something spiritual. Like it takes a lot. And then this creative thing blossoms. Like I don't even know how that happens.
Right.
So I guess that's an example, and then the thought process that precedes it about how do I deal with that?
Yeah. And you said a very important thing is that you respect what a person brings to the table, and then you have to show appreciation because that other person needs it at some point. Even like as an employer with employee, it's like, this is what you bring to the table. There's a responsibility and expectation that you bring that to the table well. And when you do bring it to the table and you do it well, I'm going to show appreciation for what you do.
Right.
As opposed to, hey, you're helping our company make more money. Be glad you got a job, type mentality. So we do need to show appreciation for what other people bring to a relationship if you want it to work well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so taking that and pivoting a little bit.
Okay.
So I guess what if somebody doesn't like, what if somebody's hearing this and is like, I don't have any of those relationships. I feel like I don't want them. I'm kind of going worst case. Like I feel like I don't even want those relationships because it's too much to deal with. I don't want to deal with people, blah, 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 blah. I feel like they don't want to deal with me. I feel like the relationships like that are not important. So I'm gonna get what I need and move on.
Yep.
What about folks like that? What do we? Why is it important to have these types or have some types of relationships in your life? And period. Or why is it important to have those relationships so we can speak to those folks that maybe don't?
So I think people have to recognize that that's a little dysfunctional, a little bit.
Okay.
To reject relationships.
Speak on it. All right.
And you have to ask yourself, why don't I want any relationships? and you'll probably come to the fact that there's maybe some hurt, some trauma there,
Mm.
that it would be better for you to deal with that as opposed to just saying, I'm not going to deal with people. That'll be my first piece of advice. Because it's just, it's kind of like you're dealing with symptoms by cutting off people and not really dealing with what the real problem is. And the real problem is not people in general. I mean, it is people, but the issue that you have with people is what you really need to deal with, because you're constantly going to be around people who are broken, flawed, and they're going to hurt you, and you're going to hurt people, and you're going to have to heal. And the better you get at the healing process, the better life is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Not just cutting off people. So that would be my first advice is just kind of like, man, just deal with the real issues. Now, I do acknowledge that, for myself, I'm very much so an introvert. So I know I need relationships, but I also have seasons where I retreat and recharge
Mm.
in, in my aloneness,
Right.
because I need that. My spouse is totally different. Like, relational connection for me is work. Like, she says, "Hey, we're going to go to dinner at so and so's house." I'm like, "Oh God, come on!" But for her, it's like it's great.
Yeah.
So then I do that because I value our relationship. I also know I need other people in my life. I need these relationships. Then I also have this season where okay, I'm going to go home and I'm going to recharge watching the football game. I'm going to recharge reading a book or listening to a book. I'm going to recharge whatever I do. That's what I'm going to do to recharge. So,
Right.
Some people are wired they're just naturally introverts, and I respect that. But to the point where I don't have any relationships, that's a little dysfunctional. I believe so.
Yeah. And I guess it would kind of be like, I've got this tension in my hand. I can't seem to to write really well. Like, I've got some cramps. I'm just gonna cut my arm off. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
like it seems very extreme.
Yeah.
It seems really, really extreme. There are times where I'll admit this, like there are definitely times where I feel I'd be better off without some of these relationships.
Yep.
I've felt that before, where I was having a hard time, or we were being dysfunctional with each other, or just something wasn't right, like it wasn't working optimally. And I thought, okay, well, dang, I'd just be better off just if just cutting this, just ending this right now. But that is always going to be your go-to, and that is typically not that's a very kind of shoot from the hip style
Right.
of living. It's not, and it is dysfunctional. It's not something that you can act on all the time and think that you're going to get good results. Like, you're just not. You're just not. So alternatively, it does feel it feels good when you can just wait a second, just skip a beat, and just be like, okay, what are one of the things that you can do, and that I try to do, is like, what are all the things about this relationship that I started it for?
Okay.
Like, why did I land in this relationship to begin with? Because oftentimes what you'll be reminded of when you do that is that it's not all that bad. Like, there's going to be tough times in every relationship. There are tough times in my relationship with God.
Yep.
And he's perfect. I'm going to say that again. There's tough times in my relationship with God, and he's perfect.
Right.
So I take that into all these other relationships, because the only person between me and God that's gonna be problematic and like falter is me.
Right.
So then I'm not saying that's always true with other humans, but I do take that perspective into those relationships. Like, I start with me.
Right.
It ain't right, Mark. Me and Mark ain't seeing eye to eye. Like, how am I looking at this that's causing a problem?
Right.
Maybe there's something I haven't asked him to understand where he's at. Like, what could I do? What should I be doing different?
Yeah.
I kind of start from my relationship with God and go out, and then that helps me not to see him so critically. Like it's a relationship doesn't have to be overly critical.
Right. You that understanding piece is super important
Mm-hmm.
because if I understand that, hey, this person needs things a certain way, that's just how they're wired, then when I see it and it frustrates me, I'm gonna extend grace because I'm like, okay, they need it that way. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna let that get me frustrated because that's how they're wired. As opposed to, you know, why she always do it like that? Why he
Right.
always do that? Like, they know that gets on my nerves. Yeah, but they're wired. This is how they were raised. This is, hey, the dishes need to be done this way. I've always done them this way my whole childhood, and now you want me to do them a different way. That's challenging for me.
Yeah.
So if I can look at that and have a level of understanding, then it's kind of like, okay, you know, here's the grace. It's gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that understanding piece destroys relationships all the time because people don't care to have understanding. It's just like, you just frustrate me, so I'm just going to cut this relationship off. That ain't a good way to be, you know.
No, no. That can be very isolating.
Yeah.
It can be really, really isolating. Um, and you can start to. It's funny because with relationships, you can feel very alone in a room of people, right? But you won't feel alone with a relationship with someone who's not even in the room with you.
Wait, say that again. Say it again. Say
You
the
can
last bit.
feel alone in a room of people,
Okay.
but you won't feel alone with a productive relationship with someone who's not even in the room with you.
Okay. I think I'm with you. Okay, explain a little more. I think I'm with you.
So for instance, when I'm by myself, I don't typically feel alone because I know I have a couple of really close friends that I have a relationship with that we don't need to be in each other's presence for that relationship to exist.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good.
Right. So I don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And I do think that you started with this. I think it's really pertinent. My relationship with God mirrors that. Like I don't know about y'all. You might want to get medicated if you're seeing this, or maybe it's just how God talked to you. But I haven't physically seen the man
Right.
in the room with me,
Right.
but I have a relationship with him
Yep.
always, like an ongoing, constant communication channel that never stops,
Right.
and that's close, and that involves some fiery conversation sometimes,
Yep.
and tough feelings and all of that. But I know the Holy Spirit is in me. I know that when two or more are together, that He is in our midst. I understand that, but physically, I'm talking about physically, you don't need to be in someone's presence to have a relationship.
Yep.
But you can alternatively be in a room with a bunch of people that you smiling and grinning with and not have a relationship and feel very lonely.
Yep. I totally agree with that.
So I just think just something to consider, that if you start with that relationship with God, it'll influence how you think about all your other relationships.
You know what? Can I share something real fast?
Mm-hmm.
So, like a couple weeks ago, I was frustrated with God internally because I was like, you are a God, you are a supreme power, and I always recognize that. I said, but I don't always feel like you're a father. And this is actually
Mm.
coming from like an earthly perspective, like
Mm.
how I had a great father. So I'm like, so when I process like times I need to talk, things that I need, you know, I don't always feel that same way with God. Like this is my flawed human perspective. So in my frustration, I said, you know what? I called up a good friend of mine, an elder brother in Christ, and I voiced some frustration I had. So after I reached out to this person, I immediately had this thought: who do you think put that person in your life?
Hmm.
So I need a father figure, and I'm like, I need this from God. Like I physically need it from God in some kind of way. And then I pick up the phone and can reach out to somebody because I know God brought this person in my life. So I'm getting what I need from my father through somebody else.
Yep.
And so I think that's an important piece also is like God places these relationships in our life because he sees we need certain things. And it's bigger than just hey, I don't like this person. I don't like what they said. I don't, like it's also this piece where God knows what I need, and He kind of funnels what I need through vessels.
Man.
And you can't ever eliminate that. I don't know why He chooses this method, because to me it's a flawed method because we're flawed people. But in His wisdom and sovereignty, He's chosen relationships to funnel things in our life and through our lives. I think it's an important thing to acknowledge.
So that was, thank you for sharing that,
Uh-huh.
because that touched me in a lot of ways. So what I also just heard you say is that God is the perfect example of provision. So we talked like 4 episodes ago about men and provision and providing, and that means that sometimes the father's not always going to be the one to personally satisfy a need.
Right.
Sometimes the father's going to provide another source to satisfy the need,
Yeah.
because that's the better outcome, to teach the kids something, not just fulfill the need, but to also teach them and impart something too.
Yeah.
And that's it. When dads feel like we need to deliver on every single thing ourselves, we should probably keep that in mind. That made me self-reflect on some times that I did not do that.
Right. Right.
And I tried to do it all myself. And it's like, no, I probably should have tried to coordinate and orchestrate versus do.
Yep. Well, that's a part of maturing, is that um if I want my child to mature, I don't just keep directly meeting every single need that they have in a direct way.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I might need them to recognize, hey, you've grown a little bit. You can actually handle this. Or, hey, you need to figure out another resource besides me writing you a check. Well, we don't write checks.
Right. I'm about to say, you write checks?
I ain't wrote a check in a long time. But you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
As a father, this is how we help our children mature and grow up, if you will.
Right.
And then it's a maturing thing for us as parents, because it's like, I don't bring everything to the table. I don't have everything. I'm not God. God has everything. But as a human father, it's like I'm not the all in all, which is an important piece for relationships. Is that here you have man, and God reaches in the man, pulls out a rib, and forms a woman who is different from him. So now he is not all in all. He doesn't have everything. He actually needs this other person. So like we have to acknowledge that I'm flawed. I am not a godlike being who has everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
I also need other people. So it's like, man, it's just a constant having an awareness of everybody in the room and what we need and what we bring to the table, and understanding that, and needing God's grace to kind of make this thing kind of flow together, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so then I guess maybe bringing this full circle around, so we can close out. Well, we talked a lot about relationships, about some of the dynamics of a productive relationship, how to identify productive versus unproductive. And we talked about why having those relationships can be important in general, but connecting it to the vision. How does having what are some of the ways that a productive relationship that we can have can lead to positive outcomes related to our vision, to us manifesting our vision?
I think we have to acknowledge that vision is just not. If your vision is just about you, you're missing something in the vision.
Ooh, say that. Okay, say that again.
Yeah, if your vision is, hey, I'm gonna become a millionaire, like if it's just you, like you haven't really tapped into God's vision for your life.
Yeah.
God's vision for your life, it encompasses other people. Like He wants to use you to be fruitful and to multiply. And I think I've talked about this before. It's like when you plant a seed, it produces a tree that produces fruit. In that fruit, the seed has also multiplied itself.
Yep.
So it's like it's a bigger this game is bigger than you.
Yep.
And so I have to just keep that in mind. Like I don't want to just use people to get my vision accomplished. And that's kind of what when you think about like businesses, we hire people to get things accomplished because we have needs. I don't want to necessarily bring that into my everyday relationships, if you will, because
Right.
it's you're gonna violate relationships, you're gonna abuse them, and you're not gonna have a lot of people who want to be close to you.
Right.
So I think my vision needs to incorporate other people outside of myself.
Yep. Yeah. I also to just extend on that last part you just mentioned about you might have people that don't want to be close to you.
Uh-huh.
I think that is a tool to take one of the tools to take away. If you look back on your relationships, your family, your friendships, colleagues, and you see that those relationships become distant over time and you never can put your hand on why, or all your whys are about them.
Yep.
It ain't. It's you. It's you. Straight up.
Yep.
Like it's you. So and that doesn't make you bad. It just means there's a reflection exercise that you need to do. And we all have to do it. We've all had to do it, by the way. Like nobody's been exempt to this exercise.
Yep.
If they're self-aware enough to understand it. Like it's okay to look at yourself and go, dang, I do typically try to get way more out of relationships with other people than I try to put into them. And if you do that, then that's not how you have a long-term productive relationship. And don't let other people's tolerance of that let you think that it's okay.
Yep. That's a great point. Because sometimes you have people in relationships who they just do more. They've grown and they put more of an investment in it, and it's easy to just kind of sit back and watch it
Yep.
and benefit from it. And it's not right.
It's not.
You know, you gotta you gotta up your game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I felt when you hit that, I felt compelled in everything in me to like say that.
Yeah,
So
that's
so
a-
I,
that's a
I hope
good
I hope
point.
that that helps somebody. But I think also going back to the relationships, tying into your vision, I thought you hit that home. Um, when it comes to like applying those relationships, or rather assessing the relationships you have, sometimes it's good to take a inventory of that vision and what so far is required to meet that vision. Like there are scenarios where God is going to bring people to you and you don't necessarily need to go looking for them. But there are also scenarios where you do need to go look for them.
Yeah.
No different than a company goes and looks for team members to join their team to get paid and get benefits and do a certain function. So I think sometimes relationships can be very fundamental. It can be about trying to help one another and trying to add value to each other's lives by them being a part of your vision, by your vision being complementary to theirs, and y'all can fulfill each other's, but your visions are not the same. That's
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
That's totally okay. So I think that's one tool, as well as like take an inventory of what your vision suggests that you need, and then like look across the people that are around you, even if you don't have a relationship with them, and assess, like, is there something there that, if your vision is tied in with God's vision, so it's not just about you, like if there's someone around that could potentially fulfill that. It doesn't mean just like automatically go jump into a long-term relationship with that person, but assess if you should, have that conversation, go seek out that connection and see if it's there, pray about it, and see what all you're doing is going and planting the seed, see what God does with it.
Right.
Right, like there's that feels like a very simple way to go about, one, not being alone, two, breaking into some new relationships that might be really fruitful, for God's vision, and ultimately you.
Yeah.
Right, so yeah, so it's like that tool seems important to mention.
I think a lot of times we have to stop giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt and realizing that we will seek comfort. We will lean towards cutting people off
Mm-hmm.
to make ourselves more comfortable. Like, because you were touching on like what I was hearing a little bit is like kind of like sometimes there's seasons. People are
Mhm.
seasonal, and I think sometimes we can like go to that as a default to get rid of people. Like,
Mhm.
and it's like no, that person is in your life now because you need to be uncomfortable, and you might need to some things you need from that person that you don't like right now, but you need it. So I think we have to like stop giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt and realize, hey, I am a selfish person. Like I was born selfish, um, and I need to recognize that and keep that in mind when I'm making these decisions about relationships, about my vision and how these relationships tie into my vision. Like I know I'm selfish and I know I will choose me over
Mhm.
everybody else. I will choose my comfort and I will at some point I might just cut off relationships and not even care to preserve me. And I have to keep that in mind when I'm making decisions about relationships.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I guess the other way to say that too is those that have matured to a place where they err on the side of trusting and giving
Mhm.
over self. If everyone took that tact, we'd all be better off. We'd all be happier. Our relationships would be stronger. Everyone would have more.
Yeah.
Everyone would have to do less to get it. That's the truth. But the reality is those folks that are in that space where they give, more than they take, so to speak. Those folks are in the minority.
Can I ask you one question before
Mhm.
we start to close it out? What do you do if you're a person who is a giver, invest in relationships, and there's not a return, and it's been a long time? How do you deal with that? Like mentally, physically, like how do you handle that?
So I would say there's two ways to handle it. One is like one part of it is what do you do with yourself, and then the other part is how do you know you should continue doing it,
Okay.
right? So how do you know you should continue doing it is not easy, but it is simple,
Okay.
and that is you assess that with God. Like I think you have to talk to God and you have to seek out some more wise counsel than yourself around should I continue to invest in this? Is this like God, do you have me here for a reason? Because if this cave is dark and I'm the light you put in it and you want me to be in that light for 50 years, then or be in that cave rather for 50 years to light it up and others are going to benefit. Again, it ain't about you. So
Yeah.
if that's what his intent is, then you may have to go with that,
Yep.
and there's a blessing in it too.
Yep.
There's a blessing in it too, and that might not always sound fun, but it's not about fun and happy. It's about joy, and there is a joy that comes with being used as a light in a dark place.
That's that man. That's very hard, especially in these times, because people will tell you, man, don't let them take advantage of you,
Mhm.
or so like trying to decide, do I stay in this chaotic environment and be light, or hey, let me leave for my health? Man, that's hard.
So I'm gonna give you a parallel example real quick.
Okay.
So to what you just said, and this is why I think the people that give like that are in the minority.
Okay.
So growing up, um, my stepdad always thought that, and we've talked about this as adults, we talk all the time, and he's come to this conclusion years ago. But growing up, he always thought that I was weak because I wouldn't succumb to reacting to people.
Okay.
Like we grew up in the hood. Like it was a lot of self preservation, a lot of self focused activity and thought, and and people would take, and he always thought like you're weak
Okay.
because you won't react to that. You
Right.
won't like buck up to that. And instead now he tells me like I never knew the strength you had. I wish I had recognized that you had that strength because you weren't reacting because you didn't want to get to a place where everyone around you was. You wanted to endure it because you thought something better was on the other side of it.
Right. Right.
And that's exactly what I thought.
Right.
And a lot of that wasn't because a lot of that also was like I was afraid to I was actually more afraid to endure than I was to react. I grew up around react. I
Yeah.
wasn't afraid of that because I saw what it looked like.
Yep.
And I did that sometimes, but I never felt good about it. That was the other thing. I
Right.
never felt good about reacting.
Yep.
So then it's like, well, nobody's winning when I react. So then at least I can win when I endure.
What's that win look like for you?
I can sleep at night.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Like I had peace inside of myself. Even if my own dad didn't have peace with me
Right.
and let me know that, I had peace with myself.
Yeah.
And that took courage to have peace with myself despite what someone I respected had, who like my dad. You know what I mean? So I do think that you will feel you like in a scenario like that where you're challenged to not be taken advantage of and all those things. I do think there are times when people take advantage of you, and there are times where you are still being asked by God to deliver on those things. Right. And then there are alternative times where you're trying to satisfy something in you by giving them something, by giving in to those people taking advantage of you. Okay. You're trying to make yourself feel important or trying to make yourself feel something. And you have to talk to God to distinguish those two things.
Yep.
But you asked the other side of like, how do you deal with it? When you're the one giving maybe more than somebody else, I think you have to make sure you're fueled up. It's almost like if I'm the one where basically I'm focused on, delivering something to somebody I care about in a relationship, then I got to make sure that as I run through my gas tank, I go refuel. That could look like going to getting a massage. That could look like taking a long walk. That could look like reading a book. That could look like, doing it, like whatever your jam is, going to a shooting range and having some excitement, like whatever, playing a video game, all the different things. That's but invest in yourself.
Advice. That's great advice. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
I'm just like, man, that's good. Because it's like, number one, you mentioned you have an awareness that it's not necessarily you're being taken advantage of. You know what's happening, and you've chosen this path. This is how you are going to be able to sleep at night. Mm-hmm. But the other piece is you take care of yourself, and you're like, hey, man, I have these things where, hey, man, I go for a walk. I listen to music. I go shoot at the gun range. Like I do all these different things to help me continue to be in this environment. So you kind of attack it on both fronts. Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great advice.
Yeah, running out of gas is like a car with no gas on the road is not going to help anybody.
Yeah,
the people you're trying to impress, the people you really love and you committed to give to, the folks that God called you to give to, your family, yourself. No one benefits when you run out of fuel.
Yeah.
So and by the way, like that's something I've learned the hard way multiple times. I'm terrible at refueling.
Yeah,
I'm terrible at it. So I've had to get good at it and try to like get some tools and honestly, I'm not good at it organically. So I make a list. Like I have a calendar for myself. I have to be disciplined about it so that I can make sure I don't forget to go refuel.
Yeah.
Because if I run out of gas, I'm not the only one that's going to suffer.
Yeah.
And when God gives you responsibilities, that means that if you run out of gas, everyone's going to suffer.
Yeah.
So you can't afford to run out of gas.
Yeah, because if you're in a position where you're giving, people tend to depend on your giving.
Yep.
You run out of gas, everybody in the room starts to suffer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's out. So I think hopefully that's a good place to kind of wrap us up. And
I think so.
Just to round us out, like we talked about, developing and identifying that vision from God and for self, how to master some internal things within yourself to attack that vision and to position yourself to go like fulfill it, and then how to build relationships and to leverage those relationships toward that vision, and also to maybe make sure that you don't have relationships that are counter to that vision.
Yeah.
So we hope that this 3-part series, blesses somebody. We gave a couple of different tools along the way. We would ask that you subscribe as well. So Two Brothers Talking _ TX. So we are in Dallas, Texas. We rep. So we're thankful to have all of you, to check us out and to watch. We hope this blesses you. Thank you. God bless.
God bless.